disappointment has now defined
In the news, CISLAC demands inclusion of CSO in asset recovery and management processes. Across Africa, Niger court defense presumes win. In business, MPA suspends export cargo trucks from entering ports. On the global scene, Germany enforces lockdown rules during Easter. And in sports, Chad disqualified from AFCON qualifiers. Details shortly. This is TOS Television, your digital-first Pan-African news network. I am Rose Audu, and this is TOS News 360. A non-governmental organization and political watchdog under the auspices of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, in its report on assets recovery and management, has said the lack of synergy and lack of credible information in the area of assets recovery and management has hindered moves targeted at adequately fighting corruption in the country. The report.
The executive director of CISLAC, Awa Musa Rafsanjani, who charged journalists on in-depth reporting of the process of assets recovery and management in the country, said assets recovery shows the public and the international community of how corrupted the country has become.
This government had actually, arrested, prosecuted some people in the past that they say they have stolen money meant for procuring arms. Some of them, as we enter 2019 election, they were forgiven and even given senatorial seats. Some of them were given all sorts of, position. So this is why it's very, very confusing when they say they are fighting corruption.
According to our international financial intelligence report shows that at least $18 billion is lost abroad every year of tax collection, money laundering, and snatching of illegal proceeds out of the country.
We have a stake in our country. We must at all times raise these issues and demand accountability on the use or management of our recovered assets.
CISLAC further recommended the inclusion of civil society in asset recovery process, especially in the process of monitoring and management of recovered assets. Rose Audu, reporting for T.
The Northern Elders Forum has noted with concern the increasing rate of insecurity challenges which has been ravaging the country in the past few months. In a statement released by the group entitled A Defining Moment for Nigeria, the group blamed the nation's many challenges on its quality of leaders. The statement, which was signed by the group's Director of Publicity and Advocacy, Hakeem Baba Ahmed, also alleged that many groups and persons who have public standing, political adventurers and upstarts now believe that it is open season to intensify attacks on the foundations of the nation's coexistence through acts that provoke and frighten or otherwise cast doubts over the capacities of those who have sworn to protect the nation and its citizens. The group added that although there is a long wait to go before the 2023 general elections, Nigeria's democratic processes must not be made the hostage to dangerous and short-sighted politicians who think weakening the country is their best guarantee for achieving their goals. Meanwhile, as presidential candidate in the 2019 general election, Gbenga Olaopo Hashin Monday condemned the attack on Governor Samuel Atom of Benue State by unknown gunmen, saying the attack was a move to cause unrest in the north-central state. Olaopo Hashin made this known in a statement issued by journalists in Abuja. According to him, the attack on Atom by armed terrorists numbering about 15, while the governor visited a farm near Makurdi, was an indication that criminal elements have infiltrated the region, posing a threat to law-abiding citizens, no matter their status in life. He bemoaned the worrisome state of insecurity in the state, saying just recently the elder brothers to Senator Gabriel Suswan, a former governor of the state, was killed. Such high-profile killing and the recent attempt on the life of Governor Samuel Ortom is an indication that some people are not happy with the peaceful order in the state. And Katsina State has asked students in its boarding schools to resume at any nearby day school in their location from Wednesday, March 24 of 2021. This was revealed in a statement made by the Public Relations Officer in the State's Ministry of Education, Sani Suleiman, on Monday evening. The state also directed the full reopening of 5 boarding schools for the continuation of the 2020-2021 academic session from Sunday, March 28, 2021. The schools to be reopened are Government Unity Secondary School, Malufanchi, Government Secondary School, Dusin Safe, Government Girls Arabic Secondary School, Dusima, and Government School for the Deaf, Mulumfashi. Schools in the state were closed down last December due to the adoption of 344 students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara. Although the students were released after 6 days in captivity, the government took the decision as a preventive measure. And following the recent crisis on hijab wearing in Christian mission schools, suspected hoodlums have vandalized churches, shops and schools at Sabo Uke, Muritala Muhammad Way and other areas yesterday in Ilorin, Kwara State. According to reports, the hoodlums got marks as they displayed machetes, cutlasses, bottles and other weapons while marching through some streets. There was also reported that some shops were looted by the hoodlums. Owners of shops and offices located in the areas hurriedly closed for the day in order to avoid attack. It took the intervention of officers and men of the Kwara State Police Command, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, and the Army to prevent the situation from worsening and to restore peace. And the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 control gave an update on the ongoing vaccination across the country, saying 122,410 Nigerians have been administered with doses of AstraZeneca since the nation launched the exercise in Abuja. It disclosed this in Abuja during the PTF briefing by the Chief Executive Officer, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faiza Shuaibu, stating that those who got their first jabs have not faced any severe reactions to the vaccine. Rather, there have only been remote cases of mild pain and fever at the scene of vaccination. The PTF also listed Zamfara, Kebbi, Oyo, and Kogi as the 4 states where vaccination has not been rolled out, stating that Zamfara and Kebbi states were later involved in the exercise. And women stakeholders have expressed concern over the low number of women folk actively participating in politics and governance. In an event to mark the 65th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, organized by the United Nations, UN Women stakeholders drawn from various sectors, including the government and civil society, stressed on the need to groom younger women to ensure that the next generation of women are aware of their rights and as well increase women participation in the activities of politics. They also unveiled plans to begin providing technical and financial support to women who have interest in vying for political positions.
There are 2 critical things that are ongoing now, and that's the amendment of the party constitutions and the amendment of the Nigerian Constitution. Until we get it right, all other things to get more women in the National Assembly will be a futile effort. So we are working on it, we are intensifying advocacy, we are reaching out to the highest policy body-making body. And by the grace of God, there will be an improvement this year. We will not rest on us until we get it right.
The constitutional review is on. We are trying to push legislation to make sure there are special seats allotted to women. In that way, you're not interfering with the existing seats already, so nobody's being threatened. But the truth of the matter is that we need more women to have developmental impact spread across the country. We need more women to ensure that there's peace. We need more women to ensure that they're credible governance and all that. And so the more the women, the better for the country.
They don't have to wait till 10 years from now, 5 years from now before they can engage. So civil society has a critical role to play. They can hold government to account. They can advocate and lobby for government to change and adopt laws that would encourage women's effective representation as it has been done in other states, but they have to also work hand in hand with women political aspirants to be able to do this.
This is your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television. You're watching TOS News 360. Stories from across Africa in a moment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. The runner-up in Niger's recent election has condemned the court's ruling that upheld Mohamed Bazoum as the winner. Mohamed Ousmane was the president in the 1990s before being overthrown, and the coup still insists he won the election. Ousmane called on his supporters across the country to engage in a peaceful protest, but did not disclose the date for the protest. However, a spokesman for the governing party asked the people to ignore the call. With President Mahamadou Issoufou stepping down after 2 terms, the swearing-in of Bazoum next month will be the first ever democratic transfer of power in Niger. The United States has insisted a need to put an end to the conflict in Libya through an inclusive political process. The formation of an interim government was welcomed. Via his official Twitter handle, the State Secretary Anthony Blinken disclosed he spoke to Libya's interim Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dbeibeh on Monday, where he said the interim administration was an important milestone in the process. The two leaders also spoke about the implementation of a ceasefire agreement between rival sides in Libya that includes the removal of all foreign forces and mercenaries from Libya without delay. Blinken also cited the need to provide essential public services and ensuring free, fair and credible elections planned for 24 December. And on Monday, the Ugandan police announced that they had on Sunday arrested Guy Smith, an American citizen at Fort Porter, for his alleged involvement in anti-government subversive activities amid a deadly crackdown against opponents of longtime President Yoweri Museveni. The police said in a post on their social media pages, it said Smith was being detained as inquiries continue and any new information would be communicated accordingly. The police gave no further details. According to a U.S. official, the government was aware of the arrest but did not provide details. We have seen reports of a detained U.S. citizen in Uganda. Whenever a U.S. citizen is detained overseas, we stand ready to provide all appropriate support. Meanwhile, Tunisia's first satellite Challenge 1 has been successfully launched on board Soyuz 2 rocket in the early hours of Tuesday from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The satellite is set to be designed and developed by exclusively Tunisian skills. It will allow communication and data exchange in many areas, including control, transport, agriculture, and logistics, by receiving data and sending it to suppliers around the world. This satellite launch is Africa's first satellite of 2021, bringing the total number of African satellites to 43. Only 1 satellite was launched by the continent in 2020, while 8 were launched in 2019. Away from Africa, now to business. On Monday, the 22nd of March of 2021, the Nigerian Port Authority has announced a 14 days suspension of export receipts at the Lagos and Tinkan Island port complexes. According to them, the suspension is part of the authority's efforts at improving access and service delivery. Ibrahim Nasrul, the Assistant General Manager, Corporate and Strategic Communication of MPA, has said the suspension of export receipts is effective at both ports and all satellite truck parks. What triggered these developments is the need for consultations with export cargo stakeholders and the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, with the purpose of harmonizing procedures required of owners of this category of cargo. Stakeholders have been assured that the suspension does not in any way affect export refrigerated cargo and trucks. Meanwhile, the federal government has revealed the plan to commit $3 billion to the power sector in the next 2 years. This is expected to raise the current 4,900 megawatts to at least 7,000 megawatts. Ahmed Zakari, special advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari on infrastructure, noted that apart from the $500 million worth of loans the government secured from the World Bank earlier this year, there are still expectations from another facility from the African Development Bank. He was vocal about the fact that with a renewed financial discipline in the sector in response to the intervention by the Central Bank of Nigeria, electricity tariffs are expected to hit 100 billion naira in the short to medium term, and government has plans to end subsidies by the end of the year. For clarity, he said, and I quote, "People say if you eliminate the subsidies, you are going to have poor people or the vulnerable people pay more. But we argue that the only reason the power price in Nigeria is high is that we do not generate enough." And point of sale merchants operating in Nigeria citing incessant fraud cases have asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to change its policy towards chargeback claims on transactions. The CBN policy allows POS card holders to lodge a chargeback claim within 6 months of the transaction, giving the POS merchants only 48 hours to defend the claim. If the merchants are unable to, they will be automatically debited by the switch company. According to the operators, fraudulent card holders have adopted a strategy where they wait for a month or more before raising false chargeback claims with their banks. The 2-day window for the POS operators is apparently not enough to defend the claim because they would have to look for the transaction receipt, which might no longer be within reach. And this is your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television. You're watching TOS News 360, stories from the globe, entertainment and sports after this timeout. Do stay with us. Welcome back. From the foreign scene, after a long discussion with Germany's assistant state governors, Chancellor Angela Merkel announced that lockdown restrictions previously set to run through March 28 will now continue over the Easter holiday till April 18 in response to a third wave of COVID-19 infections. Merkel said Germany was now in a very serious situation as the infection rate is risen above 100 per 100,000 inhabitants. A further 7,485 infections have been reported in the past 24 hours, as well as 250 deaths. She said the highly contagious UK variant had become dominant in Germany, putting the country into a new pandemic. Germans are being asked to stay at home and reduce contact. Existing measures such as the closure of sporting facilities will remain in place until 18th of April. All shops will shut, apart from food shops on Saturday, 3rd of April. Religious and big family gatherings are also banned. In a statement, the United States Data and Safety Monitoring Board expressed concern that AstraZeneca may have included outdated information from that trial, which may have provided an incomplete view of the efficacy data. The statement comes after AstraZeneca on Monday reported that its vaccine gave strong protection to adults of all ages in a long-anticipated U.S. study, and this could help rebuild public confidence in the shots around the world and move it step closer to clearance in the U.S. AstraZeneca also said the study's independent safety monitors found two serious side effects, such as increased risk of red blood clots, like those identified in Europe, as the fear has led numerous countries to suspend vaccination last week. The health agency urged the company to work with them to review the efficacy data and ensure the most accurate, up-to-date efficacy data be made public as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Israelis began voting on Tuesday in the country's fourth parliamentary election in 2 years. Polling stations opened across Israel and in the occupied West Bank with some 6.5 million registered voters. Tuesday's election was triggered by the disintegration of an emergency government formed last May between Netanyahu and his chief rival Benny Gantz to manage the coronavirus pandemic. The alliance was plagued by infighting and elections were triggered by the government's failure in December last year to agree on a budget. Vote, 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 Netanyahu said after casting his ballots in Jerusalem. His wife Sarah at his side, he called the occasion a festival of democracy. Up to 15% of the electorate is expected to vote outside their home district, a batch of absentee balloting that's larger than usual to accommodate those with coronavirus or in quarantine. The government is dispatching special polling stations, including bringing voting buses to patients' bedsides to provide ways for them to cast their ballot safely. And now to entertainment stories. No less than 500 movies across the world have been nominated to be premiered at the Made in Enugu Film Festival, also known as Coal City Film Festival. Executive Director of the festival, Uche Agbo, stated this in a press briefing to announce the commencement of the festival from March of 25th to 27th in Enugu State, Eastern Nigeria. He said that the 3-day event will feature screenings, symposiums, a tour trip, a training and gala and award night. Adding that the festival would celebrate both indigenous and foreign filmmakers as well as already-made films. Nigerian singer and member of defunct P-Square, Paul Okoye, recently marked 7 years of marriage with his wife, Anita Okoye. The singer took to his Instagram page to share some throwback photos from their traditional wedding ceremony in 2014. Paul Okoye married the mother of his son, Anita Isema, in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. A traditional ceremony took place in the native town of Anita. According to reports, the couple got engaged in September of 2013 after welcoming their first child, Andrew, 4 months earlier. And now to sports stories. Chad was disqualified from African Cup of Nations qualifying on Monday because the country's government dissolved the Soccer Federation. Chad was already bottom of Group A with no chance of qualifying for the finals in Cameroon. They will no longer play their upcoming matches against Namibia and Mali in Group A. The Confederation of African Football said it ordered Chad to forfeit 2 games scheduled for this week as 3-0 losses. The CAF decision is one of the first taken under its new leadership. General Secretary Veron Musengo Umba, who left FIFA to run the Cairo-based governing body after South African billionaire Patrice Motsepe, was elected CAF president on March 12th. Meanwhile, former England striker Frank Worthington has died at age 72 following a long illness. Frank, who won 8 England caps and scored twice for the national team, began his career at Huddersfield Town. He went to make more than 200 appearances for Leicester City and played for more than 20 clubs, including Bolton, Birmingham City, Southampton, Leeds United and Sunderland. Washington started his career at Huddersfield before moving to Leicester in 1972. He went on to play in the US, Sweden, South Africa, the Republic of Ireland and Wales, as well as for numerous league and non-league clubs in England. And the Houston Rockets have ended their 20-game losing streak with a 117-99 victory over the Toronto Raptors. John Wall scored 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists for his first triple-double in 5 years, while Christian Wood added 19 second-half points, the longest losing streak in 28 games, set by the Philadelphia 76ers over the 2014-2015 and 2015-2016 seasons. Silas, who is in his first year as a head coach, said he has received support from fellow coaches around the NBA. And that is TOS News 360. For more updates, visit our website at www.tostvnetwork.com and do follow and like our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and do stay with us and enjoy more programs on TOS Television Network. I am Rose Audu, and thanks for watching.
As a continent have now defined ourselves.